People hear Yosemite, they picture Half Dome, El Capitan, and the waterfalls crashing into the valley floor. But Yosemite's real story doesn't start with tourists, climbers, or conservationists. It begins thousands of years earlier with the people who called this place Ahwahnee. Baby, it's time to dive into Yosemite before it was Yosemite. For thousands of years, this valley was home to the Southern Sierra Miwok, also known as the Ahwahneechee. There were other tribes who lived nearby and passed through the region for trade, hunting, and ceremony. This was an untouched wilderness. It was a living, managed landscape. The Ahwahneechee and their neighbors used cultural burnings to clear underbrush, encourage new plant growth, and maintain open meadows that attracted deers and supported black oak groves. They cultivated acorns, seed grasses, and plants used for medicine, basketry, and food. Because of all of that, the valley thrived year after year, so what outsiders called pristine nature wasn't untouched at all. The word Yosemite wasn't what the Ahwahnee people called themselves or their home. The name for the valley was Ahwahnee, which means the place of the gaping mouth. Here's a twist I wasn't expecting. Yosemite actually came from a neighboring Miwok word meaning they are killers. It was a warning about the fierce valley people who defended their land. But when the Mariposa Battalion arrived in 1851, they misunderstood it. They thought Yosemite meant grizzly bear and ran with it. So yeah, the park's name, it literally began as a misunderstood insult. The insult was towards the very people who called this place home. The nerve, the audacity. In 1850, everything changed. The gold rush brought over 300,000 settlers into California, basically swallowing native lands almost overnight. Thriving indigenous nations were suddenly treated as obstacles to be removed. The state didn't just tolerate violence, it legalized it. California passed laws allowing settlers to kidnap and force natives into labor, and they paid militias to hunt them down. Between 1846 and 1873, California's native population collapsed from 150,000 to less than 30,000. This was a genocide sanctioned by law. Let's just call it what it is. The U.S. signed 18 treaties with California tribes promising land and protection. But y'all, Congress rejected every one and hid them in secrecy until 1905. With no treaties honored and no land left, indigenous people lost everything. They lost their homes, their rights, and their future. Yosemite was about to become this epicenter of this fight for survival. In 1851, California's governor authorized the creation of the Mariposa Battalion. This was a state-funded militia formed to drive native tribes off their ancestral lands in the Sierra Nevada. Despicable. The battalion was led by James D. Savage. He was a trader and prospector who once lived among the native people. Savage had built trading posts across the San Joaquin Valley. He married several native women and learned their languages. For a while, he profited off peace, exchanging goods with the same tribes who lived in Yosemite for generations. When the California gold rush exploded, everything changed. Thousands of miners poured into the region, seizing land, destroying food sources, and attacking native communities. In response, some tribes fought back, raiding trading posts and settlements invading their territory. One of those attacks destroyed Savage's post and unalived several of his men. Instead of seeing the violence as a desperate act of survival, Savage saw it as betrayal. And that's when he switched sides. Child. Bitter and vengeful, Savage offered his knowledge of native languages and land to the states. And then he took command of the Mariposa Battalion. Under his leadership, the battalion stormed into the Yosemite Valley. They were burning villages, destroying food sources, and forcing the Ahwahnee and other indigenous groups onto reservations. But Chief Tenaya refused to surrender. Determined to reclaim their home, Chief Tenaya led his people back to Yosemite. But that didn't last long. By 1853, Chief Tenaya was unalive near Mono Lake, and the Ahwahnee were scattered. So when settlers later claimed that they have discovered Yosemite, the truth is, it was only open to outsiders because the original residents were violently removed under state orders. Come back for part 2 where I'll shift from removal to reinvention, the era when Yosemite becomes a national spectacle.